Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Curious Coaches Lemonade Stand with your host, yours truly, Dr. Gena. If you haven't been here before, welcome to your virtual community third spot, the place that you can drop in, grab something refreshing where we can sip, squeeze, and savor with style when life throws us lemons. They don't throw us lemonade. What am I saying? We make the lemonade. We spice that up and we make it some really good margarita. So I'm here today with an amazing, I don't even know where to start. I would start with musician. I would go to creative. I would go with leader, educator. There's so many things that I can say about this fantastic woman. So I am going to let Kami introduce herself. We're so pleased and so grateful to have you here today, Kami. Tell us about you.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here with you and to chat. I'm Cami, also known as Kamilah, and I am a musician and also a knowledge broker, meaning that I help translate, create, manage, share, disseminate knowledge across many different kinds of people in many different kinds of ways. How that tends to come out looks like building programs. So a lot of my work is in program design and implementation. And implementing those programs, I do a lot of facilitation, and I also work in research and strategy development for organizations and with communities. And the container for all of that is my background as a musician, and I've been working and creating and playing and living in music and the arts since I was 5. And so yeah, it all tends to come together.
Amazing. And so the thing I know about Cami, can I call you Cami with our audiences today? Is that
Mhm.
cool? Awesome. Thanks, Cami. The thing that I know about Cami is that she has made a really big move, a big transitional moment in her life has occurred. And I know, like so many of us, you're a little surprised, right? About just how many things have been impacted. We all know a physical move has a lot of stuff literally that comes with it. And yet there's so many things that are within that context that tend to change and transition with that that we don't immediately, call to mind when we think about making that big move. And now you're I think in a moment where you're driving the car, but you're also looking in the rear view and seeing, wow, there's a lot happening. I'm going into a lot, but there's a lot that's already changed. So, knowing that and knowing that you are someone who has your foot in lots of different spaces as I love that term, knowledge broker. What's life like for you right now? Tell us a little bit about that move and what's been sort of changing in your world.
Hmm. Well, everything has changed, and what the move has been like, it has. I think the best way is to maybe just say plainly what that move was, and that was moving from Toronto to a the most rural I've ever lived on a dirt road, to a piece of land that has no plumbing, no running water infrastructure, in a van. I lived in a van on this piece of land for the last about 5 years or so, and
Wow.
Hmm, that was the move itself. So that's what we're working after.
You might as well throw me to Mars. Oh my gosh. That's okay. That's a humongous change.
Yes, a 20-hour drive away from Toronto, and, yeah, it was on a, sight unseen, and here we are, and there was nothing on it that you could live in. And so, yeah,
What
that's
motivated this?
some of it was necessity, some of it was love, some of it was adventure, uh a mix of those three things. The necessity part was I felt that I had to get out of Toronto. As like a creative person, I felt like Like the gentrification was getting so intense, and I've been feeling that since 2016. But I think like getting it's one thing to like say I got to get out of Toronto or I got to get out of insert expensive city here. But it's another thing to actually make the move because just to leave is expensive. Like just
That's
to get
true.
out
Yeah.
is expensive. Like you need to for one figure out where you're going, and there's not that many options. You need to get enough money to actually leave. You need to then also
Yeah.
get money to have the moving costs of like, transport things. So it had been for a while that I knew the writing was on the wall. Most creative artists, freelancers, independents, people who weren't working a 9 to 5, for example, and even who are now who were working 9 to 5, we were just like every day people were being kicked out, right? Like every time, like another friend had to leave, another artist had to leave. Oh, I'm moving to Hamilton. Oh, I'm moving to Ajax. Oh, I'm moving back home with my parents. Oh, I'm like, and I just saw that on the wall for me. Or I was having to take gigs I didn't want to take, like creatively, but I had
Mm,
to because I needed to, pay the bills. And
that
also
sucks.
like hustle for community and like strategy and, consulting work that sometimes was good, but generally like I was being forced to take work that was unfulfilling. And
I know that.
yeah. And if there's one thing about me, like I can't do that for very long. Like I cannot I don't I'm not well when I have to do something that I, don't feel excited about, and I can't sustain that for any long amount of time. And so that necessarily was like I have to do something else. I can't do live the way I want to live with my, fulfillment and values here. I can't do it. I can't afford to do it.
That's a huge piece of self-awareness. As I'm always gonna approach these things with my coaching hat on, and it just takes a lot of us a long time to even get to that point of recognizing, "This is what I need, this is who I am, these are my values, I can't be out of alignment with them for a much longer period." It's just not sustainable. That's a big word. We can do anything for a short period of time, but can you keep doing it without it costing you? And, I heard you that gesture to your health, your mental health. It's incredibly integral that we recognize what's gonna keep us healthy in all ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really I am not a person who I don't have a poker face. Like I can't I can't hide how I feel. And so what how also happens all of my work experience like outside of music I've always worked in social impact and nonprofit sectors. And there's you could have a whole session on the nonprofit industrial complex and
Oh, yeah.
how like vile extractive it can be and dangerous it can be. One thing though for so many nonprofit workers and how the industrial complex operates is that no one typically people aren't paid enough. They have to abide by like certain politics and policies, and where I was
Uh,
working for quite some time, when I started to feel like kind of like burnt out of alignment, etc., what happens is you go into the communities you're supposed to serve, but you can't serve them because you're not well.
huh?
So I would show up for communities I'm supposed to be serving, and like I couldn't even serve myself. But as a result, like I'm also harming the communities I'm going into in a role in which I'm supposed to be serving them. And so that was a
Wow.
real specific. Like I remember showing up to work and being so burnt out and like being asked to, go do some work or go into community and get some information or hold an interview or something or the other. Like where I had to do, face to face, relationship building. And I couldn't do it. I was
You can't
so
do that with a hefty tank. You really can't.
no. And like that's how that exploitive complex keeps going. And
Yeah.
so usually a big wake up call is like when I end up harming others either intentionally or not intentionally, that's like a hmm. I see that very quickly. I think a lot of us, especially for, for those of us who are like women, trans, non-binary, black, on those intersections, sacrificing our own needs is sometimes like a very normal thing, but very normalized for us in a way that
Almost
we've been brought up
expected. Yeah,
expected. Yeah. And that's certainly something I live with of like I'll sacrifice my own needs and but there that also only goes so far until you're sacrificing your own needs is then harming others too because you're not well.
absolutely.
So yeah, that was the necessity aspect. I have a partner as well who also was like ready to go. They're like, my partner was like, my partner is indigenous, and black, and was like, I want to be reconnected to the land. I don't want to live this life anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
it's easier said
That
than
how
done.
important was that alignment? Like, how difficult would it have been for you to transition in such it's a big move that you made if your partner was not aligned with that. I think, that's such a crucial piece.
Yep, I agree. I think I wouldn't be here in this way if not for them. Would I have maybe I would have moved? Um, I also have a real bad penchant for hustling, and sometimes I can just let that take over, and
Yeah.
to the point of making myself sick. And I think in a big way, my partner has been a like, you're not gonna make it. Like, you can't keep living this life of like constant hustle, and being in Toronto is forcing us to have to do that. Like, for there's
Yeah.
no room for rest. So if we don't physically
Yeah.
extract ourselves, like you're not gonna live to make this. We're not gonna have a relationship. You're not gonna be in good health. I don't want to do this. And so that was a big like, okay. And when my partner says that, I'm usually like, they're correct. Like that's like he's saying that, then yeah, like I need to listen to that voice of reason because sometimes I can like I get so deeply caught up in the grind, like, there's no time to get meta and like, there's no time to be tired. Under
I'm so
capitalism,
glad you're
like
calling it. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so glad you're calling out this hustle culture and
Mhm.
that, I feel like sometimes there's a myth that needs to be dispelled from those who may be, say more firmly planted in the 9 to 5 corporate, that if you're working in community, in nonprofit as a creative, that you're somehow outside of that hustle culture. I'm like, no, no, no. You're often hustling hella harder. Like that
Yeah,
you
because
don't
you don't know where
know
your paycheck's
the
coming
level
from,
of
and you've
hustle.
got to
Exactly.
you have to pay your
And
rent.
that becomes yeah, that becomes a way of life, and it's just constant cortisol flowing through your veins, and you're right, that is, like, fundamentally unhealthy. Like, there's a million ways that we can expand on that, but it's fundamentally not a baseline from which people can operate and grow and evolve in any kind of sustainable way.
Yeah, exactly. And so
So what's this move brought for you? What have you noticed are sort of the big changes aside from the physical move that maybe you didn't expect?
mhm. The biggest thing at this moment, I think, as I continue to like to be here, more and more surfaces of things that are changing. But I think I would identify the biggest thing is that I have a relationship to the land that was not I could not hold or invest or even sense when I lived in Toronto. Um like I think in like when I was in Toronto, in general, to me, the land that we're on and in relationship with, that's like tertiary. That's third or fourth or
Yeah,
fifth
yeah.
be down the list. The first
Yep.
thing is money. The first thing is
Yes.
business, right? Land, like no one's thinking about land around us. We're thinking about how we get to the next thing and infrastructure and whatever. But the land to me was just not. I was never thinking about it. Here, the land to me feels first. That's the first thing is like the proximity is so I'm on 3 acres. There
Nice.
was nothing on it. So I had van lifed for a while, and when I moved here, lived in that same van on the land here, um, while I was building a cabin, a small like I live in under 300 square feet with my partner. We built it ourselves, and we have been living in it for the
Wow.
past years. So
That's an incredible relationship that you literally built that on your land. That's a completely different sense of connection that I can't imagine just being in a Toronto suburb.
yeah, it's same. I've never lived like this ever. I grew up in Brampton until I was 17, and then I lived in Toronto ever since. But like, this is not my natural, my natural environment. At least I wasn't engineered to have this to think that's my natural environment. But if we were all to really think about this, this is our natural
Mhm.
environment. The land has always
That's
been
well said.
right. The land has always been first,
Yeah.
and indigenous teachings have always like that's always been first. We've been led to think otherwise, but it's always been first. And now being here, I'm like, oh yeah, it is first. And that's in many ways like just proximity, just being on land where I feel this like there's no the plumbing. We don't have any plumbing. And so out of sheer necessity, like I have to hold this different relationship with the land. When I can you cuss on this podcast? Is that gonna bring things down? I'll keep it uncussed. But like I don't have a flushing toilet. Okay. I don't have a flushing toilet. We have a bucket with dirt in it, right? And
Wow.
so that's a relationship where I'm like, all right, okay. In the infrastructure I was used to, you get a whole bunch of, which I think now that I look, I'm like, is absolutely beyond, particularly knowing now, like where I'm living, we're in a drought. But we put clean water in a toilet, poo in it, and then flush it back out. Where I'm like, there are people who don't have clean water, and this is our system.
Yeah, yeah.
It's wild. And so like being in that and like because I also don't have running water, I would have to collect rainwater from my roof of the cabin that I was building to use it to shower, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like just by necessity, that changes your relationship to the land.
Yeah. That's I mean, that's a whole other learning curve. That's like, you didn't just know how to do this stuff. I'm assuming you had to learn how to build, how to create, how to in a completely different way than what you normally do as a creative. It's a whole other aspect of creativity.
Yes. And because that focus that of like again when I'm like when I was in Toronto in a city where there's just massive infrastructure, resources, etc. The elements and the core tenets I think of being a human and like living, that's autopilot in the background. You go, you use the bathroom, you flush the toilet. There's some other system taking care of that for you. Moving to a system like this, where it's like the land is the system, my energy has to shift to being like, okay, I want to shower. I can't just hop in and like that, and then get out and back to work because I got things to do. I gotta go haul in water to drink, to use, etc., or collect off my off my roof, put it through a camper heater, put it through a thing, let that heat up, shower, and if this is in winter, like maybe it's frozen. Like the act of living takes time, intention,
Intention, that's exactly what
and
kept screaming through my
yeah,
head, the intentionality of going to use the washroom, of going to shower. All of
to
these things
cook.
now become they're not a thing that you do on the way to doing something else. It's a thing that you have to focus attention and you
Mhm,
need to actually have the right ingredients. You need to, in the moment, create the infrastructure to do these things.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
that's an incredible mind shift.
And when that happens, because the land is forcing you to like be intentional, that intention starts to come into everything else that you do in your life. And that's what this move has done to me. Everything
Wow.
slows because you can't just rush through. You want to rush through food and the like hygiene and everything so you can get to work. That's always how I was. Sometimes I wouldn't even eat.
Mhm.
I'd come out and be like, oh, I gotta go to the. You can't do that. You can't do that. Or like, yeah, you'll never shower. And I mean, sometimes it was like sometimes you're just dirty, and that's also another thing. It's like the respectability politics, the capitalistic needs of like ignoring your own self. That becomes much less of a thing, and you're forced to have to
Huh.
send like your core needs. I was forced to. If I wanted to like, shower, if I wanted to cook, if I wanted to where also where I live, like power is way less reliable in a sense. We had a hurricane and I lost power for 10 days, right?
10 days. Wow.
So it's forcing you again of like, okay, what do you do when you don't have these infrastructures here? How are you? Do you know the land? Do you know how to be with the land in those moments? And also forces you to get very intentional about your relationships in your community, which has been a huge shift for me. Has changed my work, my politics, my worldview. All of that has shifted massively because
This
of
sounds
like
like a complete rebirth.
in a lot of ways, I think so. It's changed the way I think about pretty much everything. In
So dramatic.
Toronto, yeah. Yeah, it's changed everything there.
What
Your
kind of feelings
relationships are
do you
different.
remember? Just thinking about how did you feel, when you're dealing with these things in the moment, when you realize, okay, these are all the steps I need to take to make this shower work on this freezing morning today. Like, what's going through your head?
It was really overwhelming at first and frustrating because I just wanted to work. Like the capitalist in me
Hmm.
that has indoctrinated me has been like, I have to be productive and this is stopping me from being productive. And
Yes.
I'm frustrated. I have things to do. And then I'd be like, no, you have to eat. You have to take time to
Yeah.
eat.
It's a
I-
radical shifting of priorities to what they should have been in the first place, but we've strayed so far from them.
Mhm, mhm. And like where I live, there is no Uber. There is no, oh, just order something because I'm too tired. I can work till midnight and order whatever, and someone who has to have precarious gig work's gonna come bring it to me.
Yep.
That's not happening here. So like if you want to eat, like you gotta cook. You have to make time to nourish yourself. And what does it
Mhm.
mean for me to be frustrated that I have to take time to nourish myself?
That's the incredible part, isn't it? Like,
It's a
that's the
drag.
part that my brain is it's in a loop going, "I'm shocked. Why are you shocked?" "But I'm shocked, but why are you shocked?" Like, it's to
Exactly.
feed yourself. It is one of the most fundamental human needs, and yet that is, like, 10th on our totem pole when we wake up in the morning in terms of what we're prioritizing.
Yep. Like I'm like our relationship to our bodies, our my own well-being. I was so disassociated from my body. I think capitalism forces us to do that, to separate.
Yes.
Because it's like productivity
So,
number one, your
yeah.
body, whatever. And that's why, disability and
It's
ableism is
it's separating from the land. I feel like that's a natural,
mhm,
sort of, I don't know, outcome of
mhm,
separating from the land is you also have to separate from your
you
body.
must, because your body is the land. like
Yeah.
it's and like again, this brought me to permaculture. Not having a flushing toilet means I have to have a composting toilet and a composting system. So quite literally, like I'm in this loop where yeah, you take the bucket of literal of like your waste and then you put it into a giant compost pile and you let it sit there for a few days and then it turns into dirt. You use that dirt to like fertilize in the garden or to make a tree. Like we are all like these systems have always been like we've always been in the land and always been connected to, and indigenous teachings have been saying this forever. This is not anything new. I'm just discovering because I've been so detached, and the
Mhm.
colonization of like where we are has been so effective that I'm like, huh? And
Yeah.
like indigenous teachings have told us from time immemorial, we are only the land. That's all we really do have. These infrastructures, they come and go. They fall. We're watching them
Mhm.
fall in real time, right?
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
watching
literally.
them, but the land has always been here and will always be here. So what? So like, yes, the intimacy of that, and also in other like in truly ways that like we had that hurricane where I lost power for 10 days. We lost a couple trees, and the day
Wow.
after, that was I never lived through. I've never experienced like a natural disaster in that context, like being in one, like in present live concise, like I think we're living one all the time because of what's happening to our planet, but like in a hurricane. And oh, I was terrified. It was really scary. The day after, we made it through, and I went out and trees were just decimated.
Oh my
And a lot of
goodness.
that is because, again, the extraction of capitalism. The land around me gets there's a big company that owns it, and they clear cut it. And as such, we have this monoculture where it's just one type of tree that grows of softwood. And that's not how a healthy ecosystem want to have
I know.
variety,
It
biodiversity.
needs diversity. Yeah.
Exactly. Need diversity to have actual sustainability and strength. And as such, we have these weak and dying trees and forests around us. And that leads to huge mess, lack of diversity, and also really prone to wildfires. And you have all of that. The trees around me I lost my apple tree. I lost a berry bush.
And that's not an aesthetic thing. Like,
Oh,
when
it's
people here around me say they lost an apple tree, it was
no,
beautiful.
it's
It gave me
food.
shade where we could sit in the backyard. You're like, sustenance. This is my
Yes,
meal.
sustenance. I used to be able to look out my window, and like there used to be partridges that would come in that tree. And I went out the day after, and like I teared up. I have never, ever felt like that in my life. But it was like I was going to cry by looking at what happened, like to the land. Like and I was shocked. 'Cause I'm like, I've never, ever felt like this ever. You see the sad, I always see,
That
climate change and da da da, but you're scrolling to the next.
that's
I'm busy at something
incredibly
else.
important.
Hmm.
Yeah, like it's not you're not watching it on TV and saying, "Wow, that sucks." Like you're living it in real time. You are feeling the emotions of a relationship that's been cut into.
Yeah.
And if we all felt that, people asking if climate change is a real thing could not be a possibility. That couldn't enter the realm of imagination because you would feel it.
Yeah. And there's
And
a
that, I
reason.
think, it just epitomizes how cut off we are.
Hmm. It's very profitable for us to all be cut off. And this is kind of like, it's so funny even hearing myself talk about it, because if you know me, I grew up in the suburb in my teens, and then in the city. Like, I have never been in nature. Going for a hike, please, girl, no. No, for fun, no. Like, I've never been that girl, ever. It is purely by proximity to land that I'm like, like there's something going on here. Like, I was never that girl who was like nature and like ever. So it's like to hear me like this now, I'm like, whoa. Like, I've
That's what I'm
been.
saying, it's like a rebirth. It's a fundamental shift in your own identity that has come with
Yes,
this move.
yes, yes.
Did you
And that's not
expect
even
that?
to mention, did I expect it? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I still struggle with it. My partner is more like the allure of capitalism and productivity is so strong. And because I've always been, I come from an immigrant family, a Caribbean immigrant family, like the legacy and traumas of that, and like hard work ethic,
Yep.
deep in my bones. Deep,
Mhm.
deep, deep. So I still, even with all these learnings 5 years later being here, I still have to like pull myself away to be outside for 20 minutes. I still have to like actively develop, like shape my day to make sure I'm still centering my own well-being, and like it helps to be much closer, but it's still hard for me. Like that's, colonial
Yeah, it's not gonna
legacies
be
missing
completely
probably.
unwound and undone in 5 years, right?
No, that's like capital like that's lifetimes of work. Not even my lifetime will I be detached from capitalism, but it's easier because I'm now more surrounded and I'm grateful for that. And that's just, the own attention, my own relationship to the land, how that shifted me. Then there's like the politics of who's around me. That was not expected at all.
Ooh, do tell.
W I don't know if people can see me. I think people can listen to this as audio, right? And so, like, I
Yeah,
am
it's video too. It's you
okay,
too.
okay. So, for anyone who can't see me, like, I'm like, a Black and mixed race person, and I read as, like, a Black mixed race person. I'm very feminine, I'm queer, and I moved to where I live, I'm the only person who looks like me. I'm the only person who looks like me, and no one
My
else
I
looks like me.
my instinct was to take a deep breath there. If you noticed that, and I'm sure that there are lots of people in the audience doing the same thing. It's a deep breath of, "Yep, I feel you. Yep, okay, keep going."
Mhm. This is a big reason I think people of color have lost their relationship to the land too, because having a relationship to the land or being in nature has been co-opted by whiteness. That's like, that was never our thing, and that's really not true at all. But it also feels
Yeah, it's
dangerous.
beyond ironic. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
But it feels dangerous and safe when you don't see your communities out here, so you're gonna stay where you stay, right? That makes
mhm,
sense in terms of wanting to feel protected. Um,
yep.
so that was a big, big shift and was and is isolating. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that. Being so I'm dirt road. I The closest neighbor to me, there's actually one neighbor who's like, maybe a 30-second walk, and then the next neighbor after that, it's like about a 5-minute walk, right? Where it's
Okay.
very spaced out, very spaced out. Um,
And are these neighbors, do you feel that they're safe? Do you think of them as neighbors?
I think the shift again that piece of intention that kind of comes through all your life once you move to somewhere like this is that you kind of I feel like I kind of don't have a choice of how, like, I might think something. I might think whatever I want about them. And I know for the ones who I do have relationships with is again, which I'll explain soon, is most people. On the surface, we have really different political views. There's big Trump fans, for example. There's people who have never experienced racism, don't even know what anti-blackness means, right?
Mm,
And but they are the closest people to me. And so in terms of proximity, again, proximity. And so in Toronto, I could choose who I want to be around,
yeah.
right? I get to choose. I never have to be around people who are different from me if I don't want to be. I can choose to have people who look like me, think like me, allegedly have the same politics, which again, moving here has had me really few and critically analyze that if that's true. But you can choose, right? Out here, I can't choose because there's no infrastructure. Like, if I get hurt, if I'm outside and I fall off a ladder, the ambulance is not getting to me probably for a couple hours. That's
Wow.
that's very much a possibility. So if I lose power, right now we're in a drought. If I lose water, I'm fortunate that I was able to get a drilled well, but some of the people around me do not have water because of climate change. There is a drought, and some people do not have water right now. Um, if any of those things happen that like my material needs to survive, food, water, an injury, etc., these are the people that I have to call on. There's no one else for me to call on but the people around me. So my politic and understanding of community has radically shifted for the
Mm.
better because it has forced me that even if I don't know if you're safe or you're different than me, we still have to live together on this planet, and
Huh.
I don't need your help if something happens. That's what community is. Who can I call
Yeah.
on? We don't have to be friends, but we
Yeah.
are in community.
That's a big statement. That's a really big statement because in today's world, with everything just being so completely polarized, uh, it's weird. In my head, I'm making a link between capitalism and the quote unquote choice of who you're going to be with and call your community in a place like Toronto or in any big city. That choice is very much cultivated by a sense of comfort, dare I say.
Mhm.
And when you're
Absolutely.
forced into a space where you don't have the options to make that choice that makes you comfortable, it almost brings into question for me. And I'm someone who, I mean, safety, especially psychological safety, is huge for me. Thinking about the level of comfort we expect from psychological safety, like, sometimes I think those get conflated,
Yes.
and what you're sharing is, no, sometimes you need to figure out a way to create a level of safety, a level of community and belonging in a space that you wouldn't necessarily have chosen if you had choices,
Yep. 100%.
and yet that relationship to the land requires a relationship to people and humanity and community that goes beyond a comfort zone that has really been cultivated by a capitalistic mindset.
Yep.
Wow. That's really interesting to ponder. And I'm so curious about how that then impacts your creativity.
Totally. Um, I think like when you say that, when what you just said around like thinking about safety and like comfort, I think something that especially in I think for like in Western society especially, the conflation of harm and discomfort.
Yeah, yeah. Just because you're
Just because you're
uncomfortable doesn't mean you're
uncomfortable to mean that you're in danger. Right? We gotta separate that. Just like, and I think a lot of it is like
yeah.
Western privilege of always having some kind of comfortable enough, and then when that's gone, I'm in danger. No,
Yeah.
you're not necessarily in danger. You're
You're just
uncomfortable.
not comfortable.
Exactly. Okay? Is that and that's me. That has been a lot of me, and so there's discomfort. The discomfort of like, yeah, no flushing toilet. Yeah, don't have immediate hot water on demand. Discomfort. There's a tension. I'm not in danger, but there's a
Yeah,
discomfort. There's
yeah.
a discomfort, and I need to learn how to live in that discomfort. And now I'm comfortable because I've experienced it and exposed it. I'm like, oh yeah, actually, I actually now love in the winter. We have running water now. Um, we've trenched a pipe and got a well drilled, and so that's been an
That's
amazing,
amazing.
amazing luxury in the last year.
Like, you might as well have just told me you colonized Mars. That's how, like, mind-blowing and unbelievable that is to me.
Right. Like in the winter, I would have to shower outside and it was just uncomfortable. But then I came to love that experience because I loved it's kind of like a Nordic spa. I would go outside,
Yeah.
we built a little like cover and we'd had hot water and you'd be enveloped in this hot water with like the snow that had just fallen. I've come to that became my favorite part of the day, actually. Both in winter and summer and outside of winter really was just like that outside shower became my favorite part of my day. I
The
loved that
level
time.
the level of intention around that shower alone shifts, like, it
Yes.
becomes the destination of your day instead of
Yes.
a thing you gotta get through to get to the next thing, and for it to
Exactly.
then become enjoyable, like, that must just be
I would even
so It's a
Mhm.
paradigm shift. Holy crap.
I would even time it with the sunset sometimes so I could shower outside as the sun was setting, and it was the best.
Wow.
So, like, like, that discomfort turned into the, like, beautiful comfort. Likewise, the relationships I've had that I've been building because you know, uncomfortable. But this summer, my partner and we started a garden and made a community fridge and put all the extra products we weren't using in that fridge and just gave it away for free for anyone who was coming by. That
Wow.
created so much knowledge sharing because we were providing something especially for those who didn't have water because of the drought. Then they would tell us their resources and be like, oh, do you know where the berry patch is? Do you know where to get blueberries? Oh, do you know over there's a good fishing spot? So, like, this discomfort and then being forced to, like, okay, well, we need to know people, so that turned into a place of comfort again, right? And, like,
But it requires effort. And I think that's what
the
I'm
yes,
loving about this. It requires the
yes.
intention and the effort, and we think we don't have time for those things because we're focused on stuff that now that I'm, in the mind space of feeling like I'm in your space out there seems really ridiculous and stupid. What it is that we're focusing our effort, our intention, and our energy on from the moment we open our eyes in the morning.
Well, it take like to do that, like to have true community across differences, and what I've, really been forced to do. And I'll get to how this has impacted me creatively. But, like, the person I text with most is a neighbor far down who is a huge Trump fan. Massive. We could not, we are, and if I repeated some of the things this person has said to me, like, you'd be like, we can't air this podcast.
Oh my
However,
god.
this same person has also saved my butt in the back of the woods when my car broke down and I needed a tire change. And if you live out here, if you see someone in need and you can't help them and they don't get help, it's extremely difficult. Depending on where you are, you may get seriously injured or perish. That's because it's so rural and sometimes so remote, right? So you help
So
people.
that sense of responsibility, that there's
Yes.
accountability. There's no, "Oh, they can wait for the next car that comes by. The next person will
There is
help
no
them."
next
It's
car.
it's you or there's nobody for this person.
Yes. And
That's a
I've
big
been
responsibility, and yet I love it. That's
and
community
it's
in
the
action. You
cost.
have to.
It's exactly. It's the cost of community, right? And I think for so many of us, especially, when we're all deep in capitalism, but when it's like really hammering on our heads and we're in the city, we can't make rent and whatever, and it feels like there's no time, we don't get community because the cost of community is inconvenience and discomfort. That's the
Yes.
cost. That is the cost of community. We have to have those things. We have to experience them to be in community with people who are different from us. That's going to happen. There's no way around that,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, I'm in community with this person who, yeah, we have really different views, but we have actually found more recently common ground. And that has shifted the way this neighbor is thinking about their own politics, and has shifted my politics. Because forced me to be like, I can not only organize and be in relationships with people who think like me, I can't.
Mm.
I have to understand and listen to these other viewpoints that even if I don't agree, and some of them are wrong and some of them are harmful, I need to hear them in order for me to have some kind of relationship. And I have to have that relationship because of where I live. And if something goes wrong, I'm going to have to call on these people. And as such, we have developed this relationship, right? And we're both starting to shift. I'm sharing some things I think around politics. They're sharing things I think around politics, things that I agree with, things I don't agree with, but they also started agreeing things that I've been saying too, as of this morning. So, like, the intentionality again, that, like, forcing me to have to do these, right? And I'm better for it. I need
Yeah.
I want.
I'm
I want to
I'm
know.
hearing so much growth. So much growth.
And so when it comes to creativity, that same intention has been very apparent for me there. It has forced me to think about what being an artist means to me. It has forced me to really think about what I think success is. When I moved here, other creatives were like, "You moved there?" Like, you moved to Toronto, you moved to LA, you moved to New York, you moved to London, England, you moved to a rural, huh? Right? And I was like, yeah, because I needed to know creatively who I am outside of the systems that I'm forced to be in as a creative in a city like Toronto, where I have to
Mhm.
do things out of desperation.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm like, I don't know who I am outside of like the hammer of capitalism on my head as a creative person or just as a person. And so all
That's
this space has opened to be like, yeah, who are you when you're just here with no expectations around? Nobody knows you. You're in the town near me is what is like, no one knows me. So what does that mean for who you are creatively? And
huh.
the politics of the industry, the changes in how I see, community has changed how I think about my music. It's changed what I think is most important to me in music. Um and I don't want to romanticize this again. Like I'm starting now the last year or so to really see what the values that have been surfaced for me, but it was incredibly isolating the first little bit. The first few years, I'd say, were really isolating and like again,
Big
capitalism.
identity shift.
Mhm, mhm. Going online and seeing my friends doing this and that in Toronto and oh, I missed this opportunity and oh, I didn't get on that show or oh, I should have been X, Y, and Z and I'm not there. And I'd be like, what am I doing? Um, but like we have a new album coming out next month and
I'm so excited about that.
you and like a lot of it is about these shifts that I've had, you know, of how I see the world and what these relationships are doing. I have a song out there about what I think about the industry and there's a song around like what revolution feels like now. These are not things I would have done if I was in Toronto. I'd be like, I don't have time, you know? I wouldn't have time to write like this. And I also, in a practical sense, I get to be way more choosy with where I play, where my music ends up because I don't have this like, I gotta do it. I gotta put my song on this ad of this company I really don't have values with because I gotta make rent. I don't know where it's coming. I'm way
Yeah,
more now because I can be. I don't pay rent.
that's huge. Like, I'm thinking of how you keep describing the hammer of capitalism, and it's this inevitable, something that's gonna come down. It's choking, it's constant pressure on your shoulders, and all of that was coming from the need to pay rent, the need to buy groceries in hyper expensive stores, the
Mhm,
need to keep up with the Joneses because you've gotta be at those, set events that cause FOMO at the beginning,
mhm,
right? You gotta get your nails done, hair done, everything did in
mm,
order to be at those events. Yeah.
mhm. And so exactly like the it's giving me space and time to like take risks and explore things I would have been like, ugh, I just got to get this out. I couldn't really do that kind of discovery. And I'm only at the beginning. Like I'm only at the beginning of kind of like this shift in my identity. I'm only now able to look at it and have some rear view mirror. It'll be year 5 this November. And so and from like reading and little like anecdotal things that people said it like a big move the 5-year mark, I think, tends to be a time where you can, like, actually assess things. You know, the first little bit, you're still attached, or you've to your old place, or you've romanticized a new place. Like, the thing about the 5-year mark is when you're like, "Okay, I think I can get, like, some good sample data of this experience and, like, assess what's going on." So it's only now that I'm like, okay, I think I can see who I was 5 years ago and see who I am now and start to really be like, "What has happened? Where am I in terms of my own mental health, my relationships, how I see the world, my music?" And, it's exciting to think that like, it's just now. I feel like there's so much more space for me to do, like, deeper dives and be really intentional with the way my work's coming out, my craft. And so, yeah,
That
it's
is
been,
awesome.
it's been such and there's so much more to come. I because of this move, I can afford, I'm building a larger, not 300 square feet place, which
Wow.
I had the time, or if we had the time, I would tell you what that was like because it had to do with occults as well as an assassin. Um,
We
yeah,
might need a part 2. What?
we might. This it again, the people are interesting once you get out of your, immediate and you meet new people. But we're building a new house, but half of that house came on the back of a truck, um, that I got off of anyways, it will bring us down a whole different path, yeah. But, this new house we're building, yeah, it's a long story, very interesting, but a long one. But we're building a new place on the same piece of land that we're stewarding, and this little cabin is gonna become my art studio. And, like, I'm so
Um,
excited. I could never do this in Toronto, right? I would never be able
it's
to
like
have.
you've given yourself space to literally and figuratively grow.
Yeah. Yep.
That
Yeah.
is incredible. I'm gonna take this moment here to shuffle up our deck and see what comes out today. This has been such an enriching and inspiring conversation, Tammy. Like I'm really blown away. I knew you were doing big things. They're so much bigger than I even thought they were, though. And these identity shifts are just completely incredible to me. And
Me
let's
too.
see. Oh,
Wasn't
one of my
expecting it.
favorites came up.
What
We got the King of Wands.
what does that
And
mean?
in this deck, Yoshi Yamamoto's deck here, so Tarot of the Divine, the King of Wands is so any king is the head of that suit. And the wand suit is all about passion. So it's about your career, what lights your fire. It could be about your hobbies. And as it's the king of wands is the one who has all of that under control. The one who knows and understands what that fire is that burns within, understands who he is and what that authentic nature of his is, what he truly loves, what he's truly amazing at, and he's the one who can make something out of nothing all day every day. So when you close our conversation talking about, I'm building a new house, and I'm gonna turn my old one into an artist studio. The King of Wands is like, yeah, you are.
Thank you, King of
this,
Wands.
this is the culmination, I feel like, of our conversation today, of the amazing stories that you've told about the last 5 years of your life. It's absolutely an incredible transformation, and I know I think I can speak on so many of the viewers, listeners' behalf that this has been just so inspiring and yet so relatable
Mm.
and something that they probably never expected to hear when they tuned in today.
Well, I hope, yeah. It's only now that I have enough of a view to be able to start, like, sharing. Because the last 5 years was, like, sense making of, like, what is going on,
That makes
right? I don't
sense, yeah.
know, like, what am I doing? It was a lot of that. Mhm.
When you said 5 years, in my head, this is the math I'm doing. I'd spend the first 2 years thinking, "What the F did I do?" The next
Yep.
2 years going, "No, no, no, this is gonna be perfect." That's that romanticization
Mhm.
phase, right? Though it would come in one of those orders, and then it would have been the last year that I could actually practically be able to look in hindsight and say, "Okay, what really happened here? Who am I
Yes.
now? What have I been through?" And to take stock and acknowledge, "Holy heck, this has been a lot of evolution and growth," and now you can kind of have that bird's eye view of the landscape, literally again and figuratively, of all the ways in which you've grown and all the opportunities there are to further grow and expand. Just wow.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Now starting to be like, "Okay, what does it all mean?"
I think I know I'm gonna come back to you maybe in the new year, Cami, and I would love to do a second part on what does it all mean and an update on on what you've built on the album drop. I hope you don't mind. I'd love to share some information about Tush, about your band. It's just amazing. I completely fangirl over this woman, so you need to hear the music that she makes as well, and the fact that you can speak from a revolutionary perspective because you're living it now, that's exciting. That's exciting AF. I just love that.
It's a lot. I love it. It's intense, but it's also not, I don't know, it's something. It's doing something to me. I feel closer to, like, I feel closer to, much closer and more, um, what Miriam Cabo would call, like a disciplined hope, where I can see now. I think it's lighting for me, like, what's my work? That's where I think I'm at right now, is like, this is clarifying what my work is if I want the
That sounds yeah,
world.
clarify is word
Yeah.
that sounds you've got rid of all of the fluff, all the stuff that doesn't matter
Yes.
that we've been
Yeah.
taught forever, as you said, indoctrinated. This is what matters. You've just systematically been cutting that away or had it cut away by the experience of this transition, and you can see clearly now.
Yeah, something like that.
And
Something like that. We're getting
well,
there.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey with us, Cami. This has been absolutely, as I said, inspiring. To everyone listening and watching right now, I hope you've gotten that tall glass that we talked about at the beginning. I hope that you've been able to gain some refreshment from this insight that Cami's been pouring out for us. If you haven't already, please consider liking, subscribing so that you're notified whenever a new episode goes up. They're going up on average about bi-weekly. And of course, these interviews with fabulous people like Cami are my favorite to share with you. So stay notified. I hope you join us again next time. And thank you so much for spending your time in this space with us. So until the next time, please continue to squeeze, sip, and savor with style, and hope to see you back at the Curious Coaches Lemonade stand soon. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks, Gina.